And the next week we'll be talking about some of the more kind of specific Japanese-only kinds of aspects of Christmas. It's kind of important to just recognize right off from the beginning here that Christmas in Japan is celebrated as a holiday that is about Santa Claus and presents, and it's really not about the birth of Jesus Christ. There aren't very many Christians in Japan compared to, for example, in the United States. There are Christians and there are people who, and Catholics, who celebrate Christmas as a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And but then there's also a lot of people who are not. Japan in general, in terms of religion, is very strange. There is Buddhism here, but it's not a strict kind of religion that's followed. I think other countries have much stricter kinds of followings of religion. Japan in general has a really kind of laid-back view, and it's a kind of a mashup of lots of different religions. There's Shintoism, there's Buddhism, there's Christianity. They've all been kind of mixed together, and they create this kind of strange belief, but not really a practicing belief. People don't go to the shrines and pray every weekend. They only go on special occasions, and it's more of a cultural thing. It's not really about religion. It's just kind of the thing you do. So now this isn't to say that there aren't some people who still devoutly follow a religion in Japan, but on the whole, most people don't. So Christmas is about Santa Claus and presents and copying things from the West. And you see people in Buddhist temples, they have Christmas trees. People kind of celebrate and sing the songs of Christmas and sing the Christian songs of Christmas, not even really knowing very much about who Jesus Christ is. So it can be a really strange experience if you are a Christian, if you're used to those kinds of things, because the way it's celebrated and approached is a little different here. So, but that out of the way. Christmas is a lot of fun in Japan. It's definitely a pretty big celebration, but not to the point of how it is celebrated in the States. It's getting bigger every year here, but it's kind of more still looked at as a celebration for the kids, to get a present from Santa, and if anything, it's kind of viewed as a very romantic holiday. A lot of couples will have a romantic dinner on Christmas Eve and celebrate the holidays, and then New Year's is looked at more as a family holiday, and we'll be getting to that when it's time for New Year's. But so Christmas is pretty fun, and it's, you know, pretty visible holiday in Japan in terms of decorations. More and more people have trees in their homes if they have the space. You kind of see those kinds of things more each year. They get even greater in number. The amount of decorations that are available at Daiso at the 100-yen store has, you know, doubled, I think, since it was last year. So more and more people are getting into this spirit of things. The stores do have decorations out, and they do play Christmas music. You do hear a lot of the carols. There's a few of the Christmas songs that have been translated into Japanese, Jingle Bells, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, those kinds of things. So those kinds of signs of the holidays are definitely out, and a big part of celebrating. So kind of along those lines, I wanted to just talk a little bit about Christmas music. I think, you know, you kind of get an image of what your favorite kind of music represents Christmas for you. I know in my family, when we'd put up the tree, we'd always listen to the Carpenters' Christmas album, and that's kind of become my soundtrack when it comes to Christmas holidays. I just kind of think that album is the best in my mind, and I really like listening to it. I've tried listening to some other things and never really thought they quite got what I was looking for. I know I'd love to hear anybody's comments about what they like as their best Christmas soundtrack, of what they kind of think represents Christmas the best. There's a few things here in Japan that have been obviously borrowed from the United States and are hugely popular every year here. I think probably the biggest are some of the Christmas songs from the Carpenters, just because the Carpenters are so insanely popular here. And then probably Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas is a huge hit, of course. But a couple of the ones I was surprised because I didn't think they'd be that big. But Wham's This Christmas, that is a huge, huge hit here. And it's played nonstop. So it's kind of funny to me because I'm from that generation. So of course I love Wham, love that song, but I was kind of surprised that it's being held on to as such a Christmas standard here in Japan. But that's a pretty big one. And then we do have a few people here who do make some local Christmas songs. Occasionally there might be a few people every year, some of the current pop artists, who release a song that's kind of Christmassy in theme. But you don't get the people doing like you do in the States where everybody makes a Christmas album at this time of year. Usually people don't do that. The standard of probably what best represents Japanese Christmas music would be Tatsuro Yamashita. He is probably the best when it comes to great Christmas music, and his song Christmas Eve is like one of the best Christmas songs I've ever heard. I think the thing that helps with all this is he's really good at English. You don't find very many people in Japan who can sing, who speak well enough in English to be able to sing well. They usually ruin a perfectly good song with really bad English, terrible grammar, terrible pronunciation. You kind of cringe when you hear it. But his stuff is great, and he sings other songs. He's done remakes of only English songs that he's done. But his Christmas Eve song is definitely always the #1 request of anybody in Japan when it comes to a good Christmas song. So I'm going to leave some links at the bottom for you guys to check out his stuff. I'd highly recommend it. I think you'd have to agree that in terms of a Christmas song, it's a very, very good song. And then, ironically, his wife, Maria Takeuchi, is also really good at English, and her songs are also very good. She has a Christmas album too that's really good, and a lot of people recommend listening to that at this time of year. So the two of them make a great power couple. I think they released a few songs together even. Whenever I listen to people singing in English, I always think how they both are both so good, and most people kind of pale in comparison because they just don't get it. So if you get a chance to check any of them out, you can see on YouTube. I know some people have some of their old videos. Christmas Eve's from a while ago, so I think from the 80s. So you'll get that vibe, 80s or 90s. You'll get the vibe from it when you watch the video if you check it out. So